What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Rum Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. Got a fun slate for you guys today. Only 6 games, but still a lot to talk about. Tons of injury news and injury news that we don't know what's going to happen with too as well. And some clear chalk that's already out there. So a lot of different things to discuss. But of course, before we dive into everything, AP, I'll go over to you first. Obviously, college football season's winding down, so we got the championship game coming up. No Nebraska Cornhuskers in that. Big Corn couldn't get the job done this year, maybe next year. But overall, it's getting to a crazy time of year. Obviously, we're gonna have football games on Saturdays coming up soon. So no better time to sign up now and use that code Giblets44 to get your 44% off and hang out and play all the DFS sports that we got going on. So AP, how's the day going? And are you ready for this crazy Christmas stretch we got coming up?
Yeah, I mean, Big Corn did not get it done despite a really easy schedule. I will say, Nebraska ball, I think they're 7 or 8-0. Like, they haven't lost yet. Yes. Like, they haven't played anyone. They played Creighton on Sunday. I'm actually taking the boys, so it's in the afternoon. Games will still be going on, but the Chiefs game is that night, so all will be fine. It's going to be a fun game. We'll see if the Big Corn can beat Creighton. So our guy Steve Boyton said Creighton, ton of fun to watch. I watch like no college basketball. I watch all pro sports, the real sports, and so it gives me no time to watch college basketball. That's why I defer to smart people like Steve Boyton. But he said Creighton's going to be a ton of fun to watch. So this slate tonight, 6 games, kind of nice for a Friday. I don't know about you guys, but usually it's like 12 games, 13 games. Let's keep it in the 6 to 9 range. It's that's the range we prefer.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I just realized I'm outnumbered here as the Packers fan playing the Chiefs on Sunday night. I got two Chiefs homers here, ready to take down my Packers. And I'll say this: I don't have a lot of faith in the team in general, but they've made it interesting now that they beat the Lions on Thanksgiving because they close the season with a bunch of losers. They play I saw the schedule. It's like the Giants, the Panthers, the Bucks. Like, it's just some bad teams. The Bears, Vikings are solid, but you never know with a guy like Josh Dobbs back there. So I have a fun little sweat on Sunday night. I'm hoping that the Packers can at least look competitive and then make it a little bit of a fun stretch to kind of get to the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe we get to watch Jordan Love play in a playoff game, and maybe he'll impress people. You never know. But DC, I'll go over to you. Are you pumped to watch Pat Mahomes kill it on Sunday Night Football? And, of course, we got tons of football coming up this weekend.
Yeah, always excited to watch Mahomes. And, your boy Jordan Love, he's looked better recently. I thought he looked really good on Thanksgiving. And, maybe that offense coming together just a little bit. So, Packers, I think, have been better than I expected down the stretch, or at least the last few games. But I'm sure the Chiefs will take care of business on Sunday. And 6 games slate tonight. Yeah, it seems like Friday is always 10-plus games. So nice little change. Is the in-season tournament still going tonight? I know it's Tuesdays and Fridays in general because it's not tonight, Mangone.
No, it's over. They already have these seedings decided. Okay. It's I saw them, but I didn't care to look. I think it's like Knicks and Bucks are one of them. I know the Kings got in the other night. So there's a bunch of different ones. Yeah. So there's no in-season tournament stuff anymore. But we'll have that coming up. I forget which date. I think it's Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be in Vegas. And then there's like a finals as well, where each team basically there's only one extra game that's going to have to be played or something like that.
There were some. I kind of missed them, but there were some decent angles to play. Was it on Tuesday, the last day, with the point differential stuff and teams running out their starters? What would you say? It was like the hack a Drummond thing that Boston was doing. So. It'll be interesting when it comes back. Maybe we can get on some good angles there.
Yeah, Missoula had to apologize to Billy Donovan. He was apologizing, saying, I'm sorry I'm hacking Drummond while we're up like 25 or whatever we are, but we're trying to get to win by 30 plus or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
But don't have to worry about that anymore. Not as much of a factor. This slate, it's clearly a Dallas Mavericks slate, at least right now. I will say Joel Embiid could easily sit. I know there was I believe I saw a tweet on Joel Embiid possibly could sit for this, Celtics game coming up. We won't know till closer to game time. Good luck if we get that information. But this Dallas Mavericks chalk is going to be a big conversation for sure on this slate. AP, this slate reminds me a little bit of the Miami slate, I think, from not too long ago, where it was clear you were going to play like don't know, 3 or 4 Miami guys. Is this kind of one of those slates where you kind of agree? We're clearly going to play a lot of these value plays. Other values could open up, but right now, as we're talking about it here at 4:52 Eastern, it's clear you're going to want to have to play Dallas guys and then mix and match some of these studs. What's your overall thoughts on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, there's two big situations. One, obviously, Luka getting ruled out, and then Devin Booker ruled out later tonight against the Nuggets. So, yeah, I mean, with the Mavs, I had been setting a rule towards like 3 max in most scenarios. I do think for me in MME formats tonight, I'm kind of extending that to 4 from one team. And the only team I'm doing that for is the Mavericks. And it has to do a lot with pricing. Like, I just think when you look at guys like Josh Green, 3.9K, Derek Jones Jr., Tim Hardaway, typically even in these scenarios, will come off the bench and he'll absorb all of the usage. All the way down to like Derek Lively. They're all super cheap, and we should see a tighter rotation. Memphis, not a team that we're too afraid of. So, yeah, I think it's going to set up to be a good spot. I think it's an important slate where rules are going to, come into play, and trying to figure out who to prioritize and who to mix and match is going to be key on the slate.
Yep, for sure. Should be a fun slate. DC, what about you? Do you have any overview on this slate? I mean, for me, it's kind of like Dallas, I'm going to want to easily target. I think they make a ton of sense. But I want to think about some of these guys. Like, for instance, Josh Green chalk has not been great chalk. I will at least call that out. Also, that game starts the same time as the Philly game. So who knows? The puzzle pieces might just get shifted around a ton if Embiid, if there's a bomb that he just gets ruled out right after like 7, well, I mean, it's going to shake things up and ownership's going to be all over the place. So what's your overall thoughts on how to tackle this thing?
Yeah, Dallas is obviously one of the main talking points on the slate with Luka out, who does so much for that team. Interestingly, if you run the numbers so far this year, there's a decent sample size. Kyrie Irving actually hasn't been that great when on the floor without Luka. Just a 25% usage rate in those 74 minutes that he's played without Luka. I mean, I expect that to go up, but I was also pretty surprised to see that when I did look it up. It's actually Tim Hardaway. They've both played 74 minutes without Luka on the court this year. Hardaway's actually scored more fantasy points than Kyrie Irving has. So that was kind of an interesting nugget that I found. But like you said, I mean, yes, Kyrie Irving's kind of the, leading the way as a chalk, but like no Devin Booker, obviously Kevin Durant in a great spot. We'll see with Embiid. Julius Randle questionable. That could open up some good value. So, yeah, there could potentially be a lot of good plays tonight, especially for a 6-game slate. I think there's a lot of different ways you can go.
Yep, definitely a lot of different ways to go today. It should be a lot of fun. I'm excited to break it down with you guys. If you could, please hit that like. We would appreciate it. Mamba already smashed the like, so thank you for doing that. Also, if you watch me, I was on the Cash show. I was on the college football show. Drew says he loves the hat change. I did change my hat. I was wearing my winter hat. I was cold. But, of course, for the free show, I got to put the backwards hat on for the people. It's every single DFS show has to have a guy with a backwards hat on. So I figured I would take that role today. That's how it works around here. And Mr. Patrick Rice, I will not be sad if Aaron Rodgers comes back this year. I'm rooting for him to come back. The problem is I don't think the Jets got enough wins in them to actually make the playoffs. I would love to see Rodgers play in the playoffs and root him on because it would be a fun story for sure. So, but let's keep this thing moving along. Let's go on over to the first game and break down this slate. Washington, Orlando. It locks at 7 o'clock. It locks on an island by itself. And the Washington Wizards are on a slate. And I feel like whenever I'm talking DFS, I'm talking about the shitty Washington Wizards. And we did this the other day. We talked about the Wizards. They already played the Magic pretty recently. I'll tell you one thing. I played a lot of Banchero the other night, and it was not a good time. It's an interesting flop lag spot, right? I think he could easily bounce back and have a good game. Franz Wagner is another guy to discuss. He is 7.8K. Like, I'm not saying Franz Wagner can't get there against the Wizards at 7.8, but I am saying it does feel like a bit of a shock to see him at that price tag. I think he can get the job done, but we'll see. Center-wise, Daniel Gafford at 5'5", I don't mind him. I think Goga has the ability to get there even at 5'6", but you do worry about the minutes at times, so that's something to kind of discuss here as well. And, of course, the Jordan Poole experience, 7.1K. He's looked a little bit better. AP, I'll go to you for first. Is Orlando the spot to target Jordan Poole? Will there be a pool party here today? I mean, he's playing the Orlando Magic, and this game is in Orlando. That's a place where pool parties are a good time. So is Orlando the spot for a pool party today?
Yeah, so, it's 6-game slate, 238 total. Typically this would be a spot that we get excited about and we want to target. The problem is these rotations. The rotations are terrible. We talk about it all the time. Whenever we get the Magic, whenever we get the Wizards, it's just really, really difficult. And so here's how I'm playing this. Like, one, Jordan Poole is better in the first half. You saw a lot more transition buckets. You saw him distribute decently. He's still doing all the Jordan Poole things, though, that aren't good. Franz Wagner on the other side, I mean, there was no stopping him. Like, the thing about the Magic right now is they were just like, the Wizards played better. They really did. They stayed with them through 3 quarters. They kept it competitive. This Magic team, they're scrappy, man. They're just good. They're getting quality shots up. They're hitting the shots. Their second unit coming in is good. You got some vets like Joe Ingles who can hit some shots. Franz Wagner's brother, Mo Wagner, he contributes. Jonathan Isaac's going to be back tonight. Even Gary Harris is like playing good for 18 minutes. It's insane. Like, he's hitting shots. Like, the Magic hit like 65% of their threes in that first game. You're just not going to win games like when you allow the other team to hit 65% of their 3-point shots. So how do we attack this game in DFS? I'm throwing the rules here, and we have all of these great tools. Obviously, our partner SaberSim, a big part of it. And now you just have to like master, and you have to fully like dive in and understand how to use these tools. And I just don't think I think you could see bits and pieces like a one play or 2 play from this game get there and be in that optimal lineup. But I don't think like a game stack is going to be appropriate here. I think you really want to be careful with how you target this game. And so starting on the Wizards side, it's like Tyus Jones. Well, we have a lot of really elite plays that are popping up now at the guard position. We can remove him. We don't need to play him. Denny Avdia, he was decent last game. And what's a decent game from Denny Avdia? It was 39 DK points. That's like a ceiling. He was 9 for 12 from the field. He racked up some peripheral stats. He had 2 steals, 21.5 usage rate. That's like a ceiling, highly, highly efficient game from him against a team that's typically pretty sound defensively. At 6'4", I don't think I can go back to Denny. Kyle Kuzma, the opportunity was there, but he is priced appropriate now. And this matchup is really tough. So I honestly think you could fully fade the Wizards and feel pretty fine about that. On the Magic side, we saw Cole Anthony come off the bench in 26 minutes, put up a 45-piece. Everyone was tilting Jalen Suggs because Jalen Suggs was the more popular guy. Suggs, I'm pretty sure, had like 4 fantasy points going into halftime. He finished with 35 on the game. What does that tell me? He did work in the second half. So the upside is there. I feel like Suggs' ownership is going to be cut way down compared to where he was back on Wednesday. And so he makes for an interesting tournament play at 6'2". Paulo would be the other guy that would be kind of a flop lag type of play. And then I'm with like Franz Wagner. I know it really depends on what else happens at that position, but 7-8, he's another guy that, I mean, he had such a good game, like ceiling type game for 46 points. Does 46 points kill you from a guy who's 7'8"? I don't know if it does on this slate. So I find myself getting underweight on Franz Wagner.
All right, DC, I'll go to you. Noah on Twitter says he hated Cole Anthony. That was the word on the street. He's 7K. I will say this. I said it yesterday on the show. Noah saying he hated 2 plays. That didn't smell right. I knew it wasn't correct. It wasn't a great day for the Noah play, but we're back, baby. I mean, Cole Anthony at 7K has to get the job done, DC. Am I right? Cole Anthony's got to be in our pool this week or today.
He's got to be, yeah. For people that aren't aware, our guy Bobby Hare puts out a tweet. I think every day or most days with the kind of too early NBA core. And then there's this guy, Noah Moon, who constantly rags on one of the plays in the tweet. And that play went off like, what was it, like 9-1, 9 out of 10 times or something. I don't know if you saw yesterday. I asked him, Noah, who's going to win the Seahawks-Dallas game? And he's like, Dallas can absolutely smash. So I posted a tweet, Gino as captain. I didn't actually play that lineup. I should have, because Gino absolutely nuked. But it even worked for football. And yeah, he's says Cole Anthony's a wasted roster spot. So it's got to give a bump to Anthony. But I do agree with AP for the most part. I really don't see anything on the Wizards that I want to play. And especially with all the news that we're still waiting on, this is the only game that locks at that 7 Eastern time. You got to be careful getting too many of these guys in your lineups. They just all seem, at best, appropriately priced. And a lot of these guys kind of seem overpriced. I mean, yeah, like 7.8K for Franz Wagner. Just can't get there on this slate with some of the other options, the Kyrie Irvings, Kevin Durant's of the world. So yeah, I'll be, I think, avoiding this game close to entirely, maybe mix in a Cole Anthony or two, but not going crazy with this game for sure.
Yeah, look, Noah is in the chat looking for Bobby. If you want to find Bobby, he does a podcast for us over at the Run Pure Sports
love it.
iTunes channel. Be sure to go check that out anywhere, Spreaker, all the spots. Go follow Run Pure Sports. Check out the podcast that he does with the cast of characters over here at Run Pure. So go hit that subscribe on it, and check it all out. Noah, I'm sure you have checked it out too if you know Bobby.
Are they running the head-to-head back? Because I heard Noah took round 1. They better be running it back. We got to have like a 7-game series at least, I think.
They're running it back, it sounds like. He said it was good to know that Cole Anthony is going to be in his opponent's head-to-head. So we'll see how that works. It should be a lot of fun. Again, Magic and Wizards. That's a great game to target. It's not the best spot on the board, and there's other injury news that we might be waiting on, and maybe you're cautious to lock into this game because the next game up is Philadelphia and Boston, and Joel Embiid is questionable. 11.6K for him, going up against my guy Al Horford. Al Horford, the Joel Embiid stopper, where you guys made fun of me last time for thinking he was a good play of the day. But Al Horford is going to have no Porzingis. I think Al Horford's in play again at his price. He's going to be someone, when I go through with projections, I'm going to up him when I kind of do my run, just because I think it's worth giving him the bump. But overall, he's going to be a good guy that I go to. You got Jaylen Brown, you got Jason Tatum. They're up there, but I think they have a ceiling at the price. And of course, if Embiid is ruled out, well, Markieff Morris has been starting. We'll see if they go with the Markieff Morris start, or I think it's Marcus Morris. I think it's Marcus. So whichever one, they both suck. They're both old. They used to be good, but not anymore. Then you got Paul Reed off the bench, who will likely be a popular option. Of course, Tobias Harris, 6'9", Maxey, 9'4". There's definitely still upside at those price tags. And, of course, we got Philadelphia homers in the chat saying 1% on Embiid will nuke. If he's in, he will have 0 ownership. It's worth kind of calling out. So, AP, I'll go to you first. Obviously, this game is so news-dependent, but there are plays here that I don't think we want to completely ignore.
Yeah, actually, your Al Horford call, I like that quite a bit. He did very well in this matchup last time. I believe or maybe I was looking at a different game. He's done well recently.
Yeah.
He got a 40 piece, didn't he?
Yeah, he got a 40. He got a 42 against them, and he got a 47 actually this week, which was pretty impressive.
And Mangone brings it up every single time. The Boston
he does. Yeah. And as he should. I think I played him though, and I told you that, Mangone. You made it the play of the day. I'm not going to fade that, So I respect the takes here. So, yeah, this is. I mean, we got to think Joel Embiid plays, but look, I'm not going to sit here and speculate. I mean, it's been a crazy week already. I mean, Mangone, before the show started, I was telling you, my daughter had her winter show yesterday, which is why I had Glock as, backing up the heat map and stuff. We're always going to make sure members are taken care of. I had to set my lineups at, 5:30 my time. So that would be 6:30 Eastern. And I couldn't really touch my phone or check things for 2.5, 3 hours. And so when I finally did, I was like, oh shit, the slate changed a lot, and I'm gonna return nothing tonight. Luckily the bet side crushed, and that's where I made some money last night. But you got to be able to stick around for the news, because I'm not going to speculate anymore or try to assume that we understand what's going to happen. I mean, we've seen teams absolutely throw curveballs at us, change up the starting lineup. Talking the Utah Jazz. We've seen randomly guys sit. So you got to be, at your station or at least ready to adjust. That's where the edge is in today's NBA. And but you got to think that Embiid plays here. And, against Boston, kind of think he does. 11-6, it's a fair price tag. I am eating some chalk on the slate. I have more interest in Kyrie and Kevin Durant. We'll obviously talk about those situations. But again, it's Joel Embiid. I think he's always in play. If he sits, we got to see that starting lineup, just like last time. I mean, if they run out that same who did they start over Mr. Reed?
They started Morris, and then the weirdest part was Mo Bamba got into the game before
I saw that.
Reed. I swapped to like 100% Reed. I was tilting pretty hard. I couldn't believe it when Mo Bamba got in there. And then Reed did end up playing 27 minutes, which is, I don't know, about what you would have expected with Embiid out. So just a really weird, seemed like overcoaching from Philadelphia there.
Yeah, so just working under the assumption that Joel Embiid does play. I think he's a fine tournament play. I think it downgrades everyone else. Tyrese Maxey, fully priced. Melton, we can't go there. We have better plays. So it really becomes a much easier situation. Maybe like a Nicholas Batum falls into your lineup, but still I would rather prioritize the forwards from the Mavericks over Nicholas Batum. So, and then on the other side, I mean, in these spots, I always like in big games, I always like going to Jason Tatum. I always try to bump him up a little bit higher than his baseline projection or where the industry average is at. It just seems like Tatum comes out and shines in these big games, and especially against Philadelphia. And the guy has a massive ceiling, and the price tag is fair. So Tatum in tournaments is kind of where I'm at. But, Mangone, I like the Al Horford call. I bumped him up as far as my grade goes. I'm making him an elite tournament play because he always does seem to like fall under the cracks. And you got to love the positional eligibility that he comes with. You can play him at the power forward, center forward, utility spot. So it allows for a lot of flexibility within your lineups.
Yeah, I'll definitely go back to him. I'll go back to Tatum too. I think Tatum's a really good option. Like you said, I like him as a spend up option here on this slate. DC, I'll go over to you. We got obviously Philadelphia. This news is massive, right? I mean, it would change the slate. I'm leaning he ends up being in, but if he doesn't play, it's clearly going to shake up the slate. And ownership's going to just get moved around between these Mavs and Sixers as the best values on the board. So how are you kind of tackling this Embiid news?
Yeah, we're obviously just guessing, but I think there's a decent chance he does end up sitting. He obviously missed the last game with the illness, and then he wasn't at shoot-around this morning either. So that's usually a decent sign, especially if you're sick, not sick enough to go to shoot-around. I think there's a decent chance he ends up sitting, which obviously would change the slate a bunch. We'd have to, we'd be guessing right on the Paul Reed stuff. We'd see who they start. I think there's a decent chance they would actually start Paul Reed this time around. But if not, that would be a decision point. And, even if I think he'd be a good play at 4.7K, especially if he started, but not a lock, I don't think. And then it changes everything for Philadelphia because, man, they just run everything through Embiid right now, even to the point where he's racking up assists and the whole offense changes. So you saw Melton have a huge game. Not huge game, I guess. 38 fantasy points. That's a lot against the Pelicans in just 30 minutes. And he didn't even shoot the ball that well, 5 for 14 from the field. So Melton, I think, would be interesting. Of course, Maxey would get a bump. It'd be tough, I think, for Philadelphia to compete with Boston without Embiid. But, yeah, I would be looking at potentially several Philly plays. Tobias Harris, I think, would be a good play in that scenario as well. And then you can certainly run it back. Like I said, Al Horford, solid. And I think Tatum is going to go way overlooked tonight. I think people are going to try to get in Durant, Kyrie Irving. You can obviously only spend up on so many studs. Tatum does feel like the guy that probably goes lower owned among the high price guys. Obviously Joker on the slate as well. So, yeah, I like that call a lot as a contrarian option there.
Yeah, in DC, we have a Philadelphia 76ers fan in the chat that says Grandpa Horford is going to get bullied by Embiid tonight. He's not sitting. That's your source. A Philadelphia Sixers homer is letting you know that he's playing. So there you go.
All right.
We'll have to see how that all shakes out. Again, should be a fun game. It's a good real life game to watch too, especially if Embiid is in. But DFS-wise, there are plays, but there's other better spots that we will discuss here shortly. It's not this one, though. This is the 7:30 window. It's the New York Knicks and the Toronto Raptors, and we are waiting on some news here, possibly. Julius Randle is questionable. Second night of a back-to-back. I mean, I think there's a chance he sits. I don't know if he's for sure going to sit. Julius Randle does play a lot and often. He's not on the injury report a ton, though. Jalen Brunson is 8.4K. Obviously would be a pretty good spot for him. RJ Barrett, 6.5K. He's also, you got the Canadian narrative there as well, if you want to throw that in there. But RJ Barrett at 6.5. If there's no Randle, that could easily be a boost for him. And I think it's a spot where Knicks will be interesting if he's out. But I don't really have a good read on it. And I'm kind of just hoping he's in, because if he's in, I won't be excited about the Knicks side. And I'm honestly not super excited about some of these Raptors. I think slower pace game against the Knicks. I think Pascal Siakam is intriguing at 8-1, but that's really it for me. AP, I'll go to you. Do you think Randall's in or out, and how do you attack this game?
I mean, you're setting me up for failure. I mean, Mangone, like I can't speculate on these things anymore. I'm like never right trying to guess who's in or out. No, I do think it's a true questionable scenario. Like the Knicks are one team they're not like the Lakers and LeBron. Like LeBron's questionable every single slate and then ends up playing. Like we rarely ever like a Q tag for a Knicks player, especially Julius Randle or Brunson. If they have a Q tag, it's probably pretty legit. So it's a scenario, it's a situation that I would start planning for. They typically run a really tight rotation. I think we'd probably see a lot of Josh Hart, RJ Barrett, little bounce back spot for him. Dante DiVincenzo maybe gets a little bit more run off the bench, but really it's one of those spots where I upgrade Jalen Brunson. All the usage, it's Randle or Brunson. Both guys can kind of take over. And, the Knicks are playing pretty good right now, it seems like. So if Julius Randle's out, I want to try to prioritize Brunson. Not a lot of people play him. I believe he was pretty low owned yesterday. Like in hindsight, he was one of the players I had that did pretty good. I didn't have enough of them. Obviously, I locked my stuff in early and I couldn't adjust. But I see this being a Brunson spot if Julius Randle is out. If Julius Randle is in, I think it becomes far more easier. We don't necessarily have to play anyone here against a slower pace Raptors team. So it really, really depends on what happens with Randle. If he's out, obviously it's more attractive of a situation to where we could play Hart quickly, maybe bounce back. I know he tilted a lot of people yesterday, but on the other side, Pascal Siakam, the price tag is fine. I'm okay with him. I still have that rule, Siakam or Scotty Barnes. OG Anunoby, I think it's fine. I mean, it's a 217 total. You're going to see a lot of defense, a lot of half-court sets here. Not a spot that I get too excited about, but if I have a piece from each side in this game, I think I'm going to be fine with my lineups, depending on who it is. Outside of that, it's not like a spot where I'm like stacking either side up.
All right, DC, I'll go to you. How do you think you're going to handle this news? Obviously, we will get this similar time as the Sixers stuff, so it'll be easy to make adjustments. But what is your thoughts on the Knicks and the Raptors?
Yeah, I do think, I know quickly it ended up being a pretty popular play and had his worst game of the year. So it does feel like maybe a spot to go back to him if Randle sits. Obviously, the Knicks situation is so dependent on Randle, who is obviously a very heavy usage guy. I think it would be Hart that got the start for Randle. That would be my guess, either him or DiVincenzo. But yeah, I think all those guys would be good plays. And then Jalen Brunson, man, he's playing really, really well right now. Obviously, completely nuked yesterday. 66 DraftKings points in 40 minutes. He would get a usage bump. You could go there. RJ Barrett, yeah, pretty much. All the Knicks guys that get minutes get a significant bump if Randle sits. The only two guys it doesn't really affect, I don't think, are Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein, right? Because those two are still just going to split the center minutes. But everybody else, I think, would get an upgrade. Even though the matchup's not perfect, you could certainly look that direction. And yeah, Brunson probably goes a little bit under-owned tonight too, just given some of the chalk that we already know. So I like the Knicks side better, and of course I like it a lot more if Randle sits. Toronto, like AP said, Barnes is fine. I don't find myself playing many Raptors, frankly, very often. Barnes is really the only guy that I go to with any frequency, and that'd probably be the case again tonight.
Yeah, also, I don't know what's going on in the chat, but we got some Washington and Oregon plays being thrown in the chat by someone. So I don't know. If you want some Oregon and or some Pac-12 championship action, there you go. Mr. Brady
has
that
game tonight?
It is tonight, actually.
Is it really? Oh, wow. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, definitely put that on the TV tonight, AP. I don't know what the plans are for you tonight, but if you're inside, put that one on. It should be a fun time. I'll be playing a couple DFS contests for that. Bruce has a nice little playbook up for it, so if you want to check that out. Also, championship weekend. We got an 8-game all-day slate tomorrow. So, again, use that code GIBLETS44, get you 44% off, and it's going to be a fun time. The bowl season will be right around the corner, which I'll be excited about, but let's keep this thing moving along. Next game up, Memphis, Dallas. Starts at 7:30. Probably the game of the night, I think we would say, right? Mainly because Luka's out, right? Luka had a kid. The new father narrative will have to hold for a couple days, but it's got to be a spot where we like some of these options, right? Kyrie Irving, 9.1K. An elite spend on this slate for sure. Then it's about trying to figure out these other options. I know.
Did Luka really have a kid?
Yep. He had a baby. So
okay.
It's the new dad narrative.
We got to remember that. We got the baby narrative now afterwards. So there you go.
Yep, baby narrative. So obviously not tonight, but coming up for sure. Tim Hardaway Jr. at 5'5". I know DC had a pretty good nugget on that. The big thing I think that's going to win or lose it for you tonight is how do you handle Grant Williams, Derrick Jones Jr., Josh Green, and Derek Lively. I honestly think that's one of the biggest points on this slate. If you told me I could look at the slate and you just give me one answer, that's the answer I would want to know. What on earth is going to happen with those forwards and centers? Because the ownership is going to be so high on them, and for good reason. So the question is, which one should we play? I know Josh Green has been a frustrating ride this season, so I'm not super excited about him. But Grant Williams has played a lot better. But to be fair, Grant Williams has played good when Kyrie has been out. And Grant Williams feels like a guy that fits well with Luka, not as much with Kyrie. Maybe Derek Lively is the guy to go to at center, even though there's a lot of center options. AP, you are a Dallas Mavericks guy. Maybe you can unlock the keys for me on this one, because I think that's where the slate is won and lost. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is a great play. Kyrie's a good one. And even Jaren Jackson Jr. could feast in this matchup, along with Desmond Bane, who hates the Dallas Mavericks because they didn't draft him right away.
So real quick, funny. So I'm looking up the injury report. I saw that it was Dante Exum and Luka Doncic out for personal reasons. And then I pull up the Discord and I see our guy JBC's comment. It was the first thing I saw. It was oh, both of them are out because Dante Exum was banging Luka Doncic's mom. And in today's world, I'm well, that could be real. Who knows? So it's good to know that he's out because he's having a kid. Because all day I'm well, maybe there was some truth to that story.
JVC was on the Connor Beathard and Corey Perry one, the hockey thing. He just wants to make that dramatic thing happen. It's just I don't know.
I was good for Dante Exum. Man, getting it done. So a couple things here. One, we want to see the starting lineup. I do think, and I think Mangone, you mentioned this earlier, Josh Green likely to start with Derrick Jones Jr., Grant Williams, and Derek Lively, and then Tim Hardaway Jr. gonna be a strong, good play tonight. He's gonna come off the bench, so that's just usually what happens, and it's fine because he gets all the usage. I still think then the other question, and Steve in chat asked Hardy or Curry. My take here is I think they're going to need more Jaden Hardy tonight. I think you're going to want the other facilitator when Kyrie is off the floor, and I see that more as Jaden Hardy over Seth Curry. So both guys are cheap. Both should get run, you would think. I feel a little bit better about Jaden Hardy. Curious to see what you guys say between those two cheap values. But look, Memphis, they're trying to figure things out right now. And my guy, Douglas, J. Doug, he's in chat, and he's a Memphis guy. They're starting Derrick Rose. They're starting David Roddy. They're just trying to figure out what works. And we know that the Mavericks, not a good defensive team, mainly when Kyrie and Luka start, because both guys don't play defense. So I do think they'll be a little bit better defensively tonight, which is why I'm not like rushing to bet overs here. But all the guys are cheap. Usage is going to spread around, and the likelihood of more of these guys getting there increases. So the Grizzlies side, I mean, Derrick Rose started, and I still thought like they're probably going to keep him around like 22 to 24 minutes. He played 26 against Utah and looked pretty good. So like Derrick Rose in play. It still comes down to Desmond Bane. He's going to be the main guy here. He smashed against or kind of smashed against Utah. 45 DK points. I think we'd still take that. And he was close to a double-double, pretty close to a triple-double as well. And then it's like Jaren Jackson, the guy that always tilts us. I still think that Jaren Jackson is someone to consider in tournaments. The only other guy I would really look like, Zaire Williams looked really good off the bench against Utah. He was very efficient. I think maybe a lot of people see that, and maybe his ownership gets bumped up a little bit. But the counter argument to that would be all of these cheap forwards on the Mavericks side. So if that fact keeps Zaire Williams' ownership down at 4-2, he could make for like an interesting pivot off of a chalky Grant Williams, Grant Williams looks like he doesn't rack up the peripherals. He's raw scoring dependent. The upside is just always lacking with him. Could he get there in this matchup? Yeah, he could. But again, maybe a pivot is like a Zaire Williams on the other side. So I still think like Mavericks take care of business here. Grizzlies, they got a lot to figure out. But yeah, this is going to be the premier game to target in DFS. I'm limiting it to 4 max on the Mavericks side, and that's the only team on the slate that I'm doing that with. And I haven't ran any builds yet. I've been dialing in all my stuff. But considering the players like Derek Lively, 5'9", Derek Jones, 4K, Josh Green, 3'9". We like Kyrie. We like Jaden Hardy. It comes down to the combination, and that's why I'm putting a 4 max limit on there. I'm going to have exposure to all these guys. It just comes down to getting that combination correct and mixing and matching it correctly.
Yeah, for sure. Jaden Hardy, too, one guy I didn't mention that's a great play. And obviously, this is going to be a really good DFS game to target, one that DFS players will be loading up on the League Pass for sure tonight. DC, how are you kind of handling this game? Because obviously, it's one of the best spots of the slate. And right now, since we don't have a lot of value, this is the spot where it's going to be like 3 to 4 of these guys, I think, on a lot of teams. So what are you doing here with Dallas?
Well, I do know if you give me your magic situation and I can find out one thing on the slate. I'm not using it on Grant Williams, Mangone. I'm using it on a better player than Grant Williams. I don't need to know that he's going to get 23 fantasy points instead of 19. That's not going to do me a lot of good. So I'll start with that. Dallas, I think, is like they're going to be very, very popular, right? Kyrie Irving's going to be the most popular stud on this slate. But I mean, even beyond that, like I'm seeing huge ownership on Jaden Hardy. You're going to see Hardaway be owned, even all the forwards, right? Derek Jones Jr., Grant Williams. I mean, it's like Seth Curry. We don't know what his role is going to be. Outside of Kyrie Irving, who does feel, kind of like a sure thing tonight, I could see the Dallas going different directions. And I think there could end up being some bad chalk on this team. I'm not saying it's super easy to identify what it will be, but they do make me more nervous than a team, in a situation like this typically does. So, yeah, I think, you want to tread a little bit carefully with Dallas. I don't even think you have to play Kyrie Irving, right? Like we could see Tatum, Durant outscore him, put up 60. Kyrie, like he's not a guarantee to have a massive game here, I don't think. So he's a good play, but at his ownership, I don't think you have to go there. And then, yeah, I mean, like, listen, I think Hardy's a good play at 3,300. We've seen his upside. Was it last year where he had like a stretch of games where he just absolutely nuked for a while? I think it was. So we know he's capable of filling it up, of getting hot, of having a big game. I do like his upside, but like he's also been barely in the rotation. I mean, 4, 8, and 7 minutes in the last 3 games. And I don't think it's a situation where he has to play big minutes. So there's certainly risk there. But yeah, I think you got to get some exposure to Dallas because they're just so cheap outside of Kyrie Irving that a few of these guys do got to get there. I do kind of like Derek Jones Jr. I think he's going to play big minutes here, but all these guys are, fairly low fantasy point per minute type of players: Williams, Jones Jr., Josh Green. So yeah, it's a tricky game for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know you don't want the answer on Grant Williams, but I'll tell you this, DC. I want to know if it's Grant Williams or Derrick Jones Jr. Getting the job done. It's
a flow chart spot too. I looked it up. I got Grant Williams, the best power forward flow chart spot. So take it for what it's worth. Yeah,
that'll be interesting. Again, it's you're rolling a roulette wheel with those guys, in my opinion, a little bit. Like I don't feel confident in ranking them. Like if someone in the Discord chat goes ranks the Mavs forwards, that's where I'm gonna struggle to answer that question. I might leave that one for Glock. Okay, I might point him in that direction. I'll say,
you know what you could do? What about this rule? One of Josh Green, Derrick Jones Jr., Grant Williams. Like I think that's a rule that you could maybe toy around with.
I like that. And then also, I mean, I assume he's going to play Tim Hardaway, but he's questionable too. If he's out, I do think at that point I feel a lot more confident in Jaden Hardy's minutes if Hardaway's out, because at that point I think they just really need the shooting and the scoring out there.
The other thing too, just last comment about a rule like that, you got to be careful. You got to understand what are the other forwards that are available on the slate. You don't want to be like, maybe there is no other plays at that position. Yeah. If that's the case, and Mangone, you talk about all the time, positions do matter. You could be screwing yourself if you create a rule like that and there's no other plays like at that position. But I do think the forward position is relatively strong on the slate. Like if you made that rule, it's probably going to force you to spend up and put like a Desmond Bane, type, or Franz Wagner, back to him in that forward spot, or maybe RJ Barrett if Randall's out.
Yeah, like a great example was on FanDuel when we were on the premium show. I was lowering Isaiah Pacheco's projection last week just to like see what it does. And I was like, why do I have a shit ton of Javonte Williams? And well, that's why, because I adjusted another guy and now someone else is popping. And I was like, I don't like that. And I removed the projection round. So that's something, sometimes when you like make an adjustment that's egregious, or not egregious, you make an adjustment that's a drastic difference to your player pool, you might get someone else popping that you were not expecting. So it's something to think about for sure. So I think that's a good point that you brought up there, AP. Let's move along over to the San Antonio Spurs and the New Orleans Pelicans. Pretty good game here. Obviously, any game the Spurs are in is going to be one that we want to target to some degree. The Pelicans, they are a lot healthier, though. They've had guys in and out of the lineup. It's a 237 total. There's no Wembanyama, so that's going to be really good for some of these Spurs options here. AP, I'll go over to you again here. I think New Orleans is tough to roster. You can make the case we have the salary to roster a Brandon Ingram or a Zion if you want to. And then I think on the Spurs side of the ball, like Zach Collins is priced up a bit where, yeah, I think he could have a good game, but it's not someone I'm just jamming in because Wembanyama is out, right? That's one of the things that I'm kind of struggling with. Yes, to 237 total. We typically like to target them, but it feels like a lot of these guys are priced up. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, the Spurs side, it's so tough. I mean, they played 10, 11 guys yesterday. Yeah, Wembanyama's out, but like we've seen Sandro, Mamu is what we call him. We've seen him like get into the mix in these situations. So just because like a player or two is out, Pop still has other guys, and he's gonna get that, get them their minutes. And so it just becomes really frustrating, to roster some of these guys. I think like Zach Collins is okay. I have a lot of them on the Spurs side as like fringe tournament plays. I'm kind of treating them very similarly as I am the Washington and Orlando situation, two other bad rotations that we just don't like. And I think it's okay to do that. Like, just, you don't have to necessarily like bump their projections down. That's not what I'm saying. Maybe govern it instead with some rules. Say maybe 1 max or 2 max. That way you're not going to be overexposed to like 3 Spurs players, which you probably need like an overtime type of game or some additional players to get ruled out for that to be viable. So we want to see the starting lineup here too. Like Shohan, Trey Jones kind of splitting minutes. It seems like Branham and Vassell are splitting minutes, even though they gave Vassell like $170 million or however much money that they gave him. I mean, it's insane. The Spurs, they're handing out tons of bags to these guys that are just, not really proven yet. So we'll see. I mean, Devin Valley, he's looked good, but it's like he's played 27, 26, 27, 26 minutes over the last few games. He's been good in those minutes. It's just, you know, at 6.5K, that's a big price tag to play for those guys. So obviously I'm under on the Spurs side. And then, the Pelicans, I mean, kind of fully healthy now. They're favored by 13. I mean, it could blow out. This Pelicans team, they're good, man. They're playing good basketball. It's a lot of mouths to feed. I'm not too excited about any one, player here, but I'm keeping them in my pool just because maybe it's Brandon Ingram's night. Maybe Zion is nuking and they just keep feeding Zion. So I could see like one guy, on their side, like get there, hit that ceiling game, but I don't want multiple pieces in my lineup. So another big total, but I'm kind of under on this game, kind of like I am the Wizards and Magic game.
Yeah, one thing to call out, Maxey just got downgraded from questionable to doubtful because of an illness. So, yeah, there's definitely a chance we see Maxey sit and Embiid, or maybe just one, right? And if Maxey's out and Embiid's in, well, fire up.
Cancel your dinner plans tonight if you're playing NBA DFS. Just go ahead and do that right now.
Yep, I got no dinner plans. I got a nice lasagna ready downstairs to go. So I'm having some lasagna.
Here's one thing that you can do, and this is why, like, if you are at your computer, why I do like SaberSim, you can create different tabs. And what I've done in the past where we have these situations, we don't know what's going to happen yet, but we have an idea of what could. I do run those. I'll create like 3 different tabs if I have the time, and I'll create those scenarios. Okay, Embiid's out and Maxey's out. What does that situation typically look like so I can try to get ahead of the curve there? Because more often than not, you're not going to have a lot of time to adjust to that news once it finally hits.
Yep, I'm with you on that. I think it makes a lot of sense to just prepare yourself, right? Why not prepare for this slate? Instead of just sitting there, twiddling your thumbs, put on the Up the Lock show, listen to JSU and Big T break down the slate, and get yourself prepared for it. So there you go. DC, I'll go over to you next. First of all, Maxey stuff, any thoughts on that? And then talk about this Spurs and Pelicans game.
Yeah, obviously downgraded Maxey with the illness, which is the same thing that Embiid missed Wednesday's game, and he's questionable with too. So that actually makes me think, I think there's a pretty good chance Maxey and Embiid both sit out this game, right? And Philadelphia just gets them both some rest. It's a tough game against Boston. Both these guys have played huge minutes, Maxey and Embiid. It makes you think too that Embiid's illness it's probably the same thing, right? And so he missed a game. Yeah, if they both miss, it's going to be tough sledding for the Sixers, but man, that's a lot of usage to go around with Embiid and Maxey off the court. Those guys take up between them 70% of the usage for the Sixers when they're out there. So yeah, that would change things. I think Melton would become an amazing play. Tobias Harris would get a huge bump. Obviously, Paul Reed, if he starts, all kinds of guys I think would be in play for Philadelphia in that scenario. So huge news to watch for there. Back to the Spurs and Pelicans. I'm with AP. I just don't trust the Spurs hardly at all. It's really just Wembanyama is the guy that I try to play a decent bit, but he's obviously out tonight. Yeah, like Keldon Johnson. Vassell. You could play these guys if you want. They just seem like not priority plays to me, especially if we get some of the news, with the Sixers, you're going to have some awesome plays. I don't see going too much for the Spurs. And then I think the Pelicans are still a little bit overpriced due to all the games that McCollum missed. McCollum, though, did look good in his first game back, played 28 minutes, 39 fantasy points. I think he's a reasonable play at 7,900. This is a really good matchup. And then Zion, who started the season off pretty slow, kind of seems like maybe he's played his way into a little bit better shape or something, because he's been rolling recently, coming off his best game of the year. Efficiency's been way up for him, and I don't think the Spurs have much in the way of people that can slow him down in the rim protection. So I do expect an efficient game from Zion here. He's definitely my favorite play overall on the Pelicans and probably in this game.
All right. We got some news to mention. I said he was doubtful. He's downgraded to questionable, but still not good. So I mentioned it wrong, but still.
One thing I would look at too is like the total of this game. Like the spread is obviously going to change, but what might not change as much as like the total. And just think about the replacements here. We've been hammering Philly overs mainly because of Tyrese Maxey, Harden leaving, Harden played slow. Maxey's one of the fastest players in the league. Just think about who's going to be replacing him. Patrick Beverley going to get more run. Like the guys replacing him are not guys that are going to speed this game up. So I would err on the side of unders in that situation when the game comes back online.
Yep. That is good for one of my unders on the Celtics prop player. So hopefully that gets home. Also, DC, you need to address Big T in the chat. I don't know what this means, but you need to address it.
Listen, Tony. There's nothing I would rather do more than go to lunch with you and Siege at Chili's. That would absolutely make my day. So anytime, Big T.
Yeah, if DC is about to die, right? You're on your deathbed and you have like a couple of days left. Like dinner with Siege at Chili's, is that high on the list for you, DC?
That could be my last meal. Yeah, I could do worse than that.
Yeah, the caveat is he has to wear the green polo. I think that's a must. He has to wear the green polo or no, not allowed to be at Chili's for sure. But I'm sure he's noticing the green polo, and you get a little bit of a discount too, so that's always good as well. Let's keep moving along. We got the last game on the slate, and I believe I lost it here, so let me pull it back up. It is the Nuggets and the Phoenix Suns. And interesting game to discuss because let's say Maxey sits, okay? On top of Maxey sitting, let's say we got no Embiid, the value is going to be awesome, right? Like the value is going to be everywhere, right? Go grab Jokic. And Jokic is in a phenomenal spot, obviously. Aaron Gordon is questionable too. Jokic is one of the best DFS plays on the board right now. If you told me every single day I could just plug anyone in and not care, it'd be Jokic. Yeah. That's who I'd want to like to play. If positions didn't matter, if just, hey, give me the best player, he's the best player right now. 12.4K. Value might open up and Jokic might become an actually really good play that people might not get on. So interest in Jokic here. Also worth calling out with no Devin Booker, Kevin Durant at 9.9 has to be in the conversation as well as an intriguing forward option to spend up at. I think the spends that people want to get to today are Kyrie Irving, 1, and then Kevin Durant, 2. I think those are the two spends a lot of people are gravitating towards at this moment. I'll go to you, AP. Are you able to find a way to get Jokic? Because in tournaments, he has the ability to win you a tournament. You can just go for 80 and you just need him on your team. And then on the Suns side, is there enough value to play some of these other options that help you get Jokic as well?
I think we're going to have the value to be able to play Jokic, unless you screw yourself by playing early dudes, or even like maybe in Kyrie, phenomenal play, but Jokic is just like a guaranteed like 70 plus. Like it is literally like a guarantee. Like look at it, 74, 67, 81, 78, 78, 68, 84. You know, I mean the dude rarely ever disappoints. Like you could like an interesting strategy on the slate could be just like bump up KD, bump up Jokic, like make those two guys your focal point. It's going to force you to backload. We know there's good like with this Maxey downgrade and like if Maxey and Embiid sit, more value is going to open up. Like we already have the Mavericks value. Now we're going to get additional value. There's going to be plenty of value to basically make that combination work. And Jokic could be the difference maker tonight. He's always like, seems like he's always like under owned too. Like it's a later game. The price tag is really high. You see it all the time on Sundays when no one's playing. And I always just like on Sundays, I put like an 80 piece in for my projection on Jokic because it is so hard at his elevated price tag with all of these other plays popping. Like all of these other, like Kyrie's going to get a good projection. KD's going to get a good projection. Like people are going to go back to Franz Wagner at 7-8. And yeah, Franz could get you like 40, but at 7-8, if you're spending up at that spot, when we have all this value at the forward spot, now we have value opening up at the guard spot as well. You got to think about it from like an opportunity cost standpoint. And I don't think 40 from Franz Wagner is going to get you there if Jokic puts up like an 80 piece, which he's fully capable of doing. So that's my speech on Jokic. I think he's in play. You see this Denver team, they just toy with their food, even if all their starters are in. I think who do they play tomorrow? I was looking it up. It could be a spot where like Jamal Murray sits too, because I think it's a front end of a back-to-back. I could be wrong, but I thought I saw that earlier. So something else to keep in mind. I think the game stays close too, being in Phoenix. I thought we were going to get Book in this game. We didn't. So that upgrades Kevin Durant. Grayson Allen's going to be back. He was playing heavy minutes too. He's priced fine at 5-1 though. It's tough to get too excited about Grayson Allen at 5-1. But moral of the story, KD, Jokic, they might be my two studs tonight. We're going to get the value to make it work. And it might be an easy slate after all.
Yeah, it also makes sense that Devin Booker's sitting. He's obviously with his father, Luka, celebrating the birth of their other son. Devin Booker is owned by Luka, as someone in the chat said earlier, so I thought that was pretty good. But DC, we got you to break this one down. Obviously, Jokic is a pretty good option to get to. The question is, do you think we have enough value to make Jokic happen today?
It certainly looks like we might. This might be like we don't get these as often as we used to, but kind of classic stars and scrubs build, right? Where you get Durant, Jokic, Kyrie, and then all these 3K dudes. Like pricing's a lot tighter than it used to be, so it's harder and harder to do that. But this does look like a slate where that could be an option. I think if Maxey and Embiid both sit, that's got to be the best way to build and hope that the studs come through for you. Pick out the right value, right? It's obviously easier said than done, but there's a lot of guys to choose from. I mean, Dallas has what, like 4 or 5 guys already that are cheap that could get there. And then Philadelphia potentially has another 3 or 4 or 5 guys. So, yeah, Jokic, obviously, if you can get him, it's almost always a good idea to do so. And I do think Kevin Durant should have a big game here, too, especially if Aaron Gordon misses. I do think that'd be a nice bump for Durant. Pretty good defender. Missed last game and questionable to play in this one. So, certainly looks like a true stars and scrubs night out there in the association.
Yep, should be a fun slate for sure. We'll obviously be in the Discord chat breaking down any news that happens. So if you haven't gotten that Discord chat, use that code Giblets24. And you can also use that code to be able to check out the premium show with Big T and JSU Holden, breaking everything down for you, talking about the slate. Definitely worth checking out. We'll answer one question, and then we'll go to the plays of the day. AP, what do you think of this? Any Eric Gordon love at 5,900?
It's just like those are kind of the fringe plays that I'm talking about. You got to think like 5,900. That's not like cheap. Like in a true, like what DC said, in a true Jokic KD, like we have guys that are like 4K potentially that could keep pace with Eric Gordon. So you got to think about that. You're saving 19. Take a 4K guy. You're saving 1,900. You're banking that, and you're using that to be able to get the Jokic, be able to get the KD. So that's how you have to think about it. And so, yeah, I mean, could he nuke? I mean, maybe, but it's going to be like, I think he's just priced like appropriate. Now, if KD was out, then yeah, Eric Gordon, we'd go to him, but it's going to be Eric Gordon. Goodwin's going to mix in Okogie, Keita Bates-Diop, I think, because Denver's big. Like there's going to be those other guys that fill around KD, but KD's the focal point, just like Jokic is on the other side.
All right. Listen, I was going to give the plays of the day out regardless of the likes, but I pulled up this stream. I mean, DC, if you had to guess, how many likes do you think the stream has right now? It's not looking good.
I'll go 137.
DC, they're not even at 100.
Whoa.
Oh, it's tough, and it's a tough slate to give a play of the day out. Like, what are you giving out? Kyrie Irving?
That's how I –
Kyrie Irving, my play of the day.
Yeah. I mean,
like Jokic is probably mine. I even feel bad giving like Jokic out because it's Jokic. Like,
listen, I don't feel bad not giving out a play of the day. I'm going to tell you that right now. Not only is AP upset, is DC upset, am I upset? Snyder and the Soldiers are upset too. So, yeah, listen, I say no play of the day. That's just my opinion on it. So we're going to have to leave these in the Discord chat for today. Of course, though, you got JSU and Big T coming up next. They're going to be breaking down the premium stuff for you guys, going through all the news as they lead you up to lock. So be sure to check that out. Again, use that code Giblets44 to get 44% off. And also, be able to check out all the other content. There's college football this weekend. I believe MMA is going to be back. DC, is there an MMA show coming up tomorrow for the people? If so, let them know what you guys talk about there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
go ahead, AP.
No, sorry. I'm speaking out loud here to Jimmy B's. We put up a full core. And I always go pretty heavy on my guys that are in my core. Like, we need the play of the day beyond the core. I mean, it's my bad. We'll Jokic. There you go. Jokic, my play of the day. So there you go.
What should we make it a trifecta? We'll go Jokic. I'll take Durant, and you want to take Kyrie, Mangone? There we go.
I got Kyrie. You got Durant, and he's got Jokic. I'm in. That sounds great to me. We've given you 3 plays of the day. There we go. So you got Kyrie here. Down there, you got Kevin Durant, and over here, I can't do it right. I'm not good at this. How do I point it right? It's not.
Nice. Kevin's right. I didn't give my play of the day because I didn't want anyone else on them so that I could get all the money. That's exactly what I did.
That's exactly what I
Definitely not what I did. And I didn't ship that night, I promise you.
All right. That's what we'll do for our plays today. But DC, tell the people about MMA so they can know about the free show that we have every single time there's a UFC card.
Yeah, good card tomorrow. A lot of good fights. Should be fun breaking it down with the guys, JSU, Mad Lab, and Drew. I think that's 11 Eastern time. Yeah, tomorrow morning. So should be a fun one. Really good card. And yeah, we got a bunch of good cards coming up for UFC to end the year. So always a fun show. And I know you're not the biggest UFC guy, Mangone, but it's I think it's one of the best sweats out there for DFS.
We can disagree on that one. Nothing worse than being dead after one fight in 30 seconds. I'll at least say that. But sure. Maybe I just suck and I just haven't been in contention enough. Maybe that's the case for sure. So, there you go. That's your plays of the day. AP, Nikola Jokic, DC, Kevin Durant, Mangone, Kyrie Irving. That's how we're doing it today because you guys got to be better about the like. I'm sorry. Usually I am nice about it, but I couldn't pull it up and see less than 100. That was very hurtful. And I'm not going back to look, okay? You had a whole damn show to figure it out. You didn't figure it out. Now you know for the next time when you show up on Monday, you make sure to get in there. And Big T, not a terrible take, Big T. You complain about it every single week on Twitter. I can't wait to show up tomorrow to see your complaints about MMA DFS. But that's going to wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the show. For me, Mangone, DC, and AP, we'll see you guys later.